Oh, 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 oh. Ah, shoot. Hey, what's up, Gage? Just placing everything right now. So, still doing everything in the middle. I was trying to get everything down. And here's Agent Venom on this side. Gotta match it up here. And then Deathstroke and Deadpool. And then that's. And then, of course, on this side is going to be Red Hood. So I'm going to be inking a lot of it tonight. I had to be out today. I was planning to do a 12 o'clock show. Let's see if I do a 12 o'clock show tomorrow. And maybe I'll show some 12 o'clock shows during the weekend. See how that goes. But yeah, this is literally biting off more than I can chew situation. So just the detail that I'm putting in and everything else is just mind-boggling. But it's coming out pretty damn good. So I already have a buddy of mine from LA. He's actually a Nickelodeon animator friend. And he's not working right now because of the writer's strike and some other stuff. So he was like, I was talking to him about getting on whatnot. He's an amazing artist, but he's really into animation. But he's looking for stuff to do. And he's like, dude, I saw what you were doing. You want me to color it? And I'm like, yeah, sure, man. So we might do some color work together. He was looking at this. He was looking at some other stuff. Yes, but I need to remember. I don't get paid until I send this out. So it's a little bit of a time crunch too. I had some bills and everything else that I have to contend with. Plus, there's other stuff. Plus, I need to get some more work in, and I have to finish some stuff for other people too. So I finished the sketch covers that I was due. I was gonna go to the comic shops and see about laying out some work out there, but I don't have too much work to lay out right now. So see if I can do consignment work, get some work from people. Just don't know how the comic scene is here, man. Can't believe that Miami was probably kind of dynamic compared to some of these other places, Other people hang, they go, they plan, they go to the cons. Here, it seems like everybody kind of keeps it to themselves. It's weird. Over there, it's pachanga, man. Because remember, after all of this, the ink is down. I'm going to be doing an ink wash also. So make it nice and neat, nice and pretty. So it's not just the black and white. Connecticut, I did Connecticut Comic, like I forgot, Connecticut Comic Con there years ago, like in 2013. It was all right. It was a pretty good show. I like the Northeast. Terrificon? No. It was called like literally like Connecticut Comic Con or something like that. I did it with Jeff DeCal and Patrick Riley and Jose Varice. I forget what the heck was the official name of it. Might not be the same people because I remember the guy that was involved. He was a cool guy, but there was a lot of shit to him that was a little man. I'm in El Paso, Texas right now. But I used to be out of Miami, Florida. And Florida Supercon and the comic scene down there. Then again, I knew everybody down there. But even here, like the guys that I talk to, they're kind of tame, you know? Like they're kind of like, yeah, you know, we do a con on occasion, blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Got a brand new Photonosuke pen out. Love these things. They sell them at Walmart now. I was super surprised about that. That's why I love it. I get the little flares, the little hairs like that. And when I come in with the micron, I can make it a little bit even crisper. So it's almost as good as inking with a brush. Thing is, the brush is so unforgiving. It's amazing. When I was in SCAD, when I was at college for our comics, that was one of the teachers who always told us all the time, if you learn how to ink with a brush, you'll be able to ink anything. And ink fast. Because he did some of the Predator comics back in the man, what was his name? It's not Matsuda. Something like that. He did some of the Predator comics for Dark Horse. I remember seeing some stuff. Him, James Sturm. Those are the teachers I had over there. Yeah, SCAD was great like that. Capullo's the shit, man. Capullo, I remember when he first got on the scene and he was doing some of the McFarlane stuff, people gave him shit, man. Well, at least in the comic shops. I don't think the internet was really prevalent back then, or as much as it was. Maybe like AOL, ICQ, IRC times. But I remember like being in the comic shop, people were like, he's such a fucking photocopy and phony, and like, oh, he's like fucking McFarlane. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? And it really was like one guy saying this shit and everybody just agreeing like assholes. And I'm like, the guy's good, man. I thought he was a little, he reminded me more of Trent Kanuga. Trent did Creed back in the day. And he did not Battle Chasers. That was Moffat. He's still online doing stuff. He got into gaming illustration. Let's see, if you want these sweeping nice lines for like a cape, this is the shit you use. A lot of this stuff later on, I'm gonna be inking black, but I'm gonna build it up towards a dark gray. Probably gonna use some markers on this too, but not colored. If you guys are enjoying this or getting any kind of education, if you guys have any art questions, please feel free to hit me up. I am a bona fide art teacher, substitute right now, but still art teacher. And I have some buildings and scaffolding back here. That's an alleyway that they're fighting out of. I got it. Yeah, how you could make that argument that it's a pretty dumb one. Yeah, it is. You know who else is on Whatnot now that I'm a super fan? I'm surprised. Jose Pierre. Jose Pierre, that name sounds really familiar. Boy, should definitely consider doing some work on Whatnot. The strike is hot. Yeah, he's a great comic book artist. He tried to be a tattoo artist at one time working with us. I used to manage a tattoo shop up in out in Miami, and this is back when we had this other tattoo artist. Unfortunately, he wasn't a great tattoo artist, not a good business partner. Um, Fucked up some stuff and everything else, so we kind of closed shop because of that. We kind of ended it after that. But he was apprenticing under him, and that's how we met. He was a good guy, amazing talent, man. That guy was a good artist. I know that name, Joseph Saint Pierre. I gotta look him up. All right, let's go over here. My only thing with doing Deathstroke's sword is I always feel like he had broadswords on. He didn't have katanas, and now people draw katanas. It bugs the hell out of me. Issues of 2099. I know Rick Leonardi, who originally did the first 2099. I loved his work. Old Marvel Comics Presents. It was the one with Colossus. I forgot what it was called. It was like one of the first 9 or 10 issues where he has to fight some commie mutants or something like that. If I remember right, it was pretty good. Yeah, shit. Yeah, he has to have. Leo Sig on the 29th. Oh, nice. Man, I can't believe that issue blew up as it did. I mean, I do because it was a cool character and finally people found it when that movie came out. But, dude, that was such a dollar bin comic book for so long. And now it's like, I heard like a 9.8 graded's $200 or something like that. At least that's the, I don't know. I watch Comic Tom on occasion. That's the last thing that they said. But yeah, it used to always be a classic sword. It's one of those. I mean, like I appreciate that in the market. I mean, it's obviously if you're a collector. I just had a guy, um, ex customer of mine at my old shop, and he came across in a bunch of boxes of comics that were left over from like a property his dad owned that the guy left. Pure garbage until he had. I shit you not, 14 copies of Batman Adventures number 12. And he showed me the picture and he's like, "What do I do?" And I'm like, "What the fucking happy dance, asshole?" And in great condition, too. I even told him, like, check them that they're not reprints, even though I don't think they've ever done a reprint of that book. And with the new movie coming out, I told him, like, you hit the mother load, man. That's amazing. Those are the stories you hear about, you know? You're like, what the fuck? Like, how did you find this? I told him on the low end, I was checking every single pricing. And I mean, if he grades them and he gets a 9.8, low end's 1200 to this day. I mean, you know, obviously people chisel you down at the cons and stuff like that or at a shop. But if it's 9.8s and there's a crap ton of them out there, maybe it'll go down a bit. But then aren't they going to do a new Harley movie coming up now with, what's her face, Lady Gaga? Hey, Bobo Dillagaff, what's going on, man? Damn, imagine. He had like 10 plus copies. It was insane. I didn't believe him when he told me. He was like, he sent me like a, he talked to me on Instagram, and I was like, nah. And then he showed me the pictures. I'm like, holy shit. You And it's so hilarious because the rest of the stuff is garbage. When I say garbage, it's garbage. Like Malibu comics and stuff like that. The Mexican foil, you're right. Yep. That's the only one I know. Yeah, you're right. That's the only one I've ever seen. So I told him, man. He was like, "What do how do I go about it?" I go to the CGC, get the account. I know that they have a whole thing. Like if he gets the gold or diamond or whatever it is membership, you get X amount of percentage off every book you grade. Because if you're gonna go and send more than 5 books, it's like if you do the math, it's worthwhile. It comes out to like $300 or something to grade them or something like that. And I told him, just hold your breath, man, because you're in the middle of the con season. This is like a month or so ago, or maybe even more. So that's insane to me. That to me was, again, the kind of stuff you read about. I was like, wow. But like that, you'll find a lot of people, man. That happened to a guy that came in with some comics one time into the shop, and we bought it, and it was the first Hobgoblin in there, just when it was first getting hot. But the same thing, I've seen some tragedies too. I had a guy come in. He got so mad at me. I was like, because he goes and shows me a comic, old Cuban guy, and he tells me, "Oh, yeah, is this worth anything?" And it's an old, I wanted to say like Daredevil 62, 64, something like that. And I was like, "Oh shit! If you have like this kind of Daredevils, yeah, I'll definitely take a look at them, bring them in." And the guy goes, "That book by itself, I think I priced it like $20, $30 because it wasn't like the best condition." I told him I would give him like something like that for each issue. And he brings it in. And at first I go, okay, cool. I'm gonna take it. What got me was the smell. I could smell the mustiness on the books. And when I open that box and I look inside, bro, this fucking guy, he left it like in a shed outside or something, and it got rained on. And it had like first Bullseye, first the early Frank Miller stuff in there. It was such a great fucking haul, but all of it was fucking soaked, wet to the bone on the bottom. And then I guess I said it the wrong way, but I told him like, yeah, you pretty much like this is garbage now, you know. I hate slabs personally. I got some 9.0s in perfect shape and some 9.8s with obvious damage. Whole thing's a sham. Oh yeah, yeah. No, no. Are you kidding me? I like the guy got mad at me because I kind of told him like you fucked him up, like you're an idiot. Because the guy didn't know, what he had and everything else. But it's like, dude, it was insane. He was with a buddy of his, and he started screaming at me in my own shop, and I started telling him to get the fuck out, and like I was about to like trounce this guy a little bit, and the buddy he was with, like, bro, I'm sorry, just that he had the books there, and he put them outside just the other day, and it started raining. I'm like, well, he's an idiot. You should have treated him better. Who puts books outside in a shed? And the whole bottom, dude. And I tried to see if there was something to save, but I couldn't even pull the comics out because the moisture was, like not letting the book come out. Ah, dude. I felt like throttling the guy myself. And I told him just because he pissed me off, I was like, just to butter the biscuit. I told him there's like $2,000 in there that he just wasted. Oh yeah, because it was a small box of old Daredevils. I want to say I think it was like the first 200 or so issues. It was like somebody's collection of Daredevil comics. Because it was like I didn't go to number one, but it was like number four all the way to like the Frank Miller run, which is like 190 something, 180 something, I think. I was like, this is insane. Supposedly the guy was somebody that lived in one of his apartments, and he left and he never came back, and that was left there, and the guy didn't know what to do with him. Oh my god, racing is gonna be so much fun. Did the hair cap work?
Hmm.
Yeah, so cute.
Yeah, that's
I gotta develop the chains. That's gonna be fun. Yep, definitely drew myself in a corner. Not a bad thing, because then good art comes from that. And challenging yourself. All right. I'm trying to get the details done out of the way. Big details at least. And then go in and noodle. Let's go like that. Especially in New England, the weather here is nice. Gage, thank you, man. Appreciate that. What was I gonna tell you? I think it's just about being out there. A comic shop is a magnet for that. When I was running my comic shop, I was always putting on like Google and Craigslist, like We Buy Comics. That helped out a lot. I had people that would come in with different stuff. Sometimes I would have people like shit that I don't deal with, like say baseball cards. But there were times that I was like, shit, man, I should have bought that shit. Especially when baseball cards had that big bump after Kobe died. That was a little nuts. Open W deuces, I'm never coming back. I should open the slide on this gun. Yeah, you had to remember the broadsword for Deathstroke, but kept that slide closed. What a surprise! I know. I the thing with the slide, when you do that, sometimes I had twice it's happened to me where I keep the slide open, like as it's being shot, like a pistol, and I've had people give me shit. Oh, the gun looks weird. I'm like, dude, when a gun fires, that's how it looks. And I had an argument once about that with another artist. And it was just like, I'm like, yeah, like he was just kind of like, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, oh, it does matter. Like to me, I was like, it does fucking matter. Now, you don't care, that's a whole other bag. But don't tell me that doesn't matter. Accuracy is accuracy. It's gonna emerge out of the darkness. That's the thing, man. I wouldn't blame the artist for it too much because I think it's a lot of times you're dealing with people's expectations, if that makes sense. And people don't know about guns half the time. So like when you tell them, hey man, like a gun, how it works, da 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 da. Like I've always had to explain to people, like a gun doesn't drop on the floor and go off unless you have the hammer clock back and you have a round in the chamber and you're like, and even some of them like Glocks and shit, you can like throw them against the wall and they won't fucking go off. It's that 2 pound pressure pull, depending on what you have. You have like a 1911 and you have a cocked back, maybe a revolver, sure, but it's not gonna drop and fucking go off. I mean, that would have to be kismet for that to happen. Yeah, because you know how like a 1911, the trigger will be like click, 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 like a little. I used to sell guns, so I know about a bit about guns, mostly pistols. I'm not a big rifle person, but they have like some of them like the Kimbers and stuff like that. They have this very loose kind of like click, click, click kind of trigger. But in the end, to actually press for the bullet to come out, it takes a good amount of pressure. It has to be very, very, very certain. So that's come out. Sometimes I try to educate people like a gun does not just go off. Like you need to know what you're doing. Same with a rifle or a pistol. Like you can't just grab a gun and start shooting. Again, maybe a revolver, and again, you're gonna have what, 6 shots? 12 if it's a 22 caliber. Yeah, that's the thing with a Glock. No, Glocks are amazing. I've never owned a Glock of all the guns. I had a lot of Beretta, Kimber, Smith and Wesson. Never owned a Glock. Yeah, they flinch. I've had the opposite too because I took my ex to the gun range. She was very anti-gun. She was very like, I don't know, blah blah blah. Then she fired off a couple of. First off, she was an amazing shot. I was like, holy shit! Like I'm like, okay. She clustered, amazing. And then after that, she got used to it. And once she knew, okay, like guns empty, everything else, but you always treat a firearm like it's on. You always, treat it with respect. You don't point it at anybody. Blah blah blah. All right, now put the magazine in. It's not a clip. Put a magazine in. I don't say clip. You know. Well, that's why she's my ex. But clip. You know, people say magazine. It's a magazine that you put in there. At least that's what my military friend told me. He run the local gun range where I used to go, and he was always like, "Dude, don't say clip, Bobble. You don't say clip." I'm like, but it's just what you say. You didn't say that. Since he's a Marine and shit, I was like, all right, I'm gonna concede to the side that knows more. Yeah, he carried a 6 hour 380 for the longest time. And then after that, and then at home, I always had a 9 millimeter uh, Beretta 9 millimeter 92 FS. That's what all the Italian cops use. That's what I noticed in Italy. Every time I saw a cop, I was like checking out their firearm, and they all have 92 FSs, Parabellums. I'm like, oh, cool, great fucking gun. I love that gun. That was my range gun too. Aside from my 380, 380, I always was shooting it just to get used to it. Silver nitrate fucking hollow points, shred it and forget it. Yep. I say it all the time, man. I was just like, I didn't know any better. But you put the clip in, you take rack the slide. Now you have either you rack it in. Sometimes that whole, you put the clip in and you go click and you just go pa. Like again, friends of mine that were big gun collectors hated that because it's just like slamming that slide into place and ride the gun. If you don't know, a gun can go off if you do that shit. So I was like, but it's just a cool movie thing to do. Nothing felt better than doing that shit. I think everybody should know how to shoot a gun, how to use it, how to like disarm it. That was the other thing I drilled to my ex was like how to disarm a gun. If I leave the gun loaded and you need to take it apart or for whatever reason, how to arm it in case you're in trouble too. We used to do the drills. We used to do drills in the house. Be like how long it took her to get to where the gun is on the bedside, rack it. And the thing is that we made it like a safe point. So it's on the other side of the couch, other side of the bedroom. So if she's there, there's also a fucking knife under there, a machete. She has shit on her side. We were working our way to her having her potentially her own firearm and her own concealed. I wanted her to have one. That's why I always get pissed off at these feminist groups. If they really want to like do something, they should all be armed like a motherfucker. Like every woman, if anything, women have more rights to a firearm than men. I think, to a certain degree, because we're dumb palookas that should just fight in the streets like fucking cavemen. Women should be armed to the teeth and ready to blow anybody's fucking head off if they fuck with them. But that's me. I'm telling you, as soon as a group of people get armed, man, everybody treats them better. I used to say that for gay rights. I was like, I don't have any problem with two men getting married. If anything, I hope they get married on there, both packing fucking pistols. Then go and call them something. Taurus, like the G2 and the rest. For cheaper pistols, they aren't bad. CT has an annoying 10 round magazine. Wow, yeah, those 10 round. Yeah, it's the Northeast, bro. I reckon I can you see how many pistols on me as I want as long as you're only more than 10 rounds. So you're just gonna have a bandillero belt of guns. You're gonna look like Deadpool. That's the biggest thing, dude. Dude, Illinois, you guys have, dude, big time. I used to live in Chicago, man. Well, I lived in Belvedere, Illinois, and I worked out of Rockford, Illinois. But I got a lot of family in Aurora and Aurora, Northbrook, um, this Plains. I got family all over in Chicago. Yeah, and you can tell with what they argue with. When they always form those arguments, it's always the same shit. Now, let me tell you, the NRA doesn't help, man. The NRA does not help. I used to be an NRA member, and yes, over the basic facets of it, but they got away from the education part of guns. They really did. They are in bed with the gun makers, and they because it's like a lot of little things, dude. Look at it this way. I know years ago I had a friend of mine. He was suffering because he and his dad, their names are same, and unfortunately their name was on the no-fly list back in this is 2004, 2005 after 9/11. That no-fly list was some real shit, bro. You if you were on there, prepare to go to the airport the day before to try to get on a plane because they were gonna go up your ass with a microscope and a Q-tip. And with all of that and everything else, he could still buy a gun. He could still, and even he was like, you know what is that? Like, I'm supposedly my name has been affiliated with a terrorist, and he's like, dude, I can go and still buy ammo. I can still buy a gun. I can still buy all this shit, you know. And the NRA fought that, and then they also devalue the ATF. So the ATF aren't following up on shit. They're on it. We all know criminals are fucking packing nowadays. Packing. I had a buddy of mine who's a city of Miami. He used to be city of Hialeah police officer. In Miami, he told me, he's like, dude, there's times that we know we don't want to pull over certain people. We know they're packing. We know they have like, and I'm talking all the fucking shit. But Chicago is a fucking shit zone now. Well, they used to be about like even outreach and like, teaching youth and doing that. But there's so many lawsuits and so much shit against that now that they gave up on that. But I think that's like one of the best things you can teach a kid nowadays is how to use a gun. My nephew's at 5, 6 years old knew not to touch it. And by the time I think the oldest was Julian was 10, he knew how to disarm it in case he saw it, but he never fucked with it. And my brother fucked up one time. He left a fucking loaded handgun on top of the damn dresser like an asshole. And my nephew came in and straight up told him, "Dad, you left the gun out." Like, and he was like, "Holy shit, this kid knows what to do." So you can teach them, man. Kids are not that dumb. Yeah, dude. Totally. It's one of those things. Like I always say, like there should be a life class in school, and they should teach them like life, like a lot of things, like going like to a synagogue or a temple, or like going somewhere to like, oh look, different people how they live, fucking cooking different shit, shooting guns, like all that shit, dude. Like that's life. This is what different things are about in life. Farming, knowing how to grow your own food. That's another one. Being independent. It's like even now with the STEAM bullshit, and I'm a fucking art teacher, dude, and I'm like this is bullshit. Like, yeah, you gotta learn about art, but my main course in being an art teacher is to make you love art and then pursue it yourself, and that like fill you with the vocabulary and the understanding. That's the main thing. I'm not gonna make you an artist. That's a whole other bag. But they don't do that shit no more. It's all about testing and garbage. At least Chicago has a good Comic Con. C2E2 is an excellent comic convention, and there's some good comic shops up there. Graham Cracker, Quimby's. I used to hit up all those spots. They can't even. Yeah, they're just ridiculous. Can't even teach archery. Balance a checkbook. Well, who balances a checkbook anymore, man? That's a thing. Like the interest rates, how credit cards work. Yeah, C2E2 I heard was really awesome. I missed it again. I haven't been there since probably before COVID, since 2016. I went almost every year. It was one of my favorite cons. Chicago. What's the other one that I really liked? New York Comic Con. That was another one. San Diego's all right. It's not a great comic book convention, though I heard this year was because they didn't have so much Hollywood shit this time. I heard even from vendor friends of mine, dealer friends of mine, that they said they did really well at San Diego, even without the movie stuff. No, it's almost 9, guys, so I'm gonna be wrapping it up. There's a whole other spot for the whatnot people. Yeah, yeah, but I heard everybody did really good. I hate when that happens. Then I'm not there. Yeah, man, I can forget it's 2 hours ahead for you. I used to be on the East Coast myself. I know how it is. All right, so here is so far. It's coming together. It's coming together. I'll try to do 2 shows tomorrow. I'm gonna see if I do a 12 o'clock one, and I'm definitely gonna do an 8 o'clock one. Thank you guys. Awesome. I'm glad you dug it, dude. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Thanks for the tip, Gage. I really appreciate it. And I'm out of here. I'm gonna go get some dinner, and I gotta fucking come back and ink some more tonight before I go to bed. All right, guys. Later, Gage.